Hello, this is Gas It Out. You've got quite, there's a weirdo over there. We've got quite a strange one coming up here now. Not only have we got Neil Hodgson, but we're sort of recording this across a couple of sessions simply because Leon Haslam was out on the golf course. You'll hear. And his signal went. And then so we decided to do...
Look, basically, Gav's rambling. It's a typical Gas It Out. We're doing the start at the end and the end at the start, but in the middle we speak to Leon Haslam, and it's a really good interview. I think it comes across really well.
And there wasn't much swearing. There's no swearing. It's wholesome.
Well, no, I was swearing. I'm always swearing because I can't help it.
Right.
Even Vic said today, you swear too much. I'm sorry, I swear occasionally. All right, there's a bit of swearing, only a little bit. So
deal with it. Deal with it.
Yeah, just deal with it.
Oh, I'm leaving that in. That was that. Unable to do that. You look like you're beating off an invisible man.
Oh, man, now. I've not done it for a long time. Yeah.
Wow. Your children are so embarrassed by you. Guarantee.
Yeah, standard.
Hello and welcome to Gas It Out with myself, Gavin Emmett. I've got Neil Hodgson on the other end of the line. Remember, if you listen to this on the podcast, you can also watch us on YouTube and on Facebook. So just search for Gas It Out and you'll find it. If you can see, you might notice...
Yeah, wow. First of all, right, if you listen to this, you are missing out. I have never seen Gav look so sharp. Full Hawaiian shirt, baseball cap, looking
baseball
summery.
Baseball cap is because I went to the gym right when we were there before, right, and I didn't put any product in, so I just put the cap on. The shirt, right, you'll be pleased about this because he's going to come...
Everyone, just quickly just stop. You just said product, like, just... Can we edit that out? Because it just sounded a bit wrong. Okay, go on.
When you've got to cover up...
Tell me about this shirt.
When you've got to cover up the sunroof, right? So this shirt, it's got old flowers and leaves on it. So this is someone who said, oh, don't mention anything about this. But I'm going to embarrass him. But it was a lad called Evan, who is a big motorcycle fan. He's Australian, lives in New York, and he wrote us a lovely email saying how he'd enjoyed listening to podcasts. And he's like, I'm going to send you some shirts. I was like, give over. You don't do that. He goes, no, I'm not looking for a plug or anything like that, but I'm going to send you some shirts. So he sent us some shirts, and he has. He's called Evan, and he runs a company called Joe Bananas. That's what they're called, Joe Bananas.
Heard of them. I'm sure I've heard of them.
Right, joebananas.com. So he sent us some shirts from the States. Right, so he sent us this, and I'm ready for a barbecue in it. And I thought, well, it's going to be warm in the UK this weekend. So, Evan, we do appreciate it massively.
Evan,
he said it's not there for a plug or anything, but we thought, let's give him a plug. Well, I thought, let's give him a plug.
You know how we work. You know how we work, though. We just love the plug, don't we? Joe Bananas.
Riders love a freebie. Right, so look,
I'm so excited.
There's all sorts, right? I've got a nice, like a denim one as well. Honestly,
so
proper
cool.
Real deal. So, look, and this is, I'm saying, he packaged it all up. Look at that. Oh, is that a back to front? Is that back to front?
No, that's Joe Bananas.
Right. I could only see back to front, but yeah, there you are. That's yours now. So I'm gonna bring that to you next time. So, and he sent us a few. So, Evan, thank you. You're absolute ledge.
Gav, now, literally, we'll soon be able to retire because I'm sat here. You won't see this if you're listening to this, but I've got the cotton gin from Dougie Lampkin. That's right. You know.
And the best bit about that cotton gin is, right, that last week I went down to Neil, my goodness me. So that's...
Just, if there's any children watching, don't drink the gin like Doug. I know it's not supposed to be drunk like that, but...
Is it two-stroke?
Tastes good.
Superb. But I noticed that it's bottle number 100 that Dougie sorted you out.
And I'm really annoyed because I brought the label, but then I had to drink it. But imagine I've got.
So for those who can't see, that's Dougie Lampkin's cotton gin that he's made. Look at that, number 100.
100 out of 486.
That's great. And he's necking it out the bottle, obviously.
And have you got your kecks on?
Do you know what? I did have them on, but because I've been at the gym, I've got my gym shorts on, so I haven't got them on. But I love them. I'm obsessed by my kecks, right? My God, this is like plug heavy. There's people going to be switching off already.
All right, hang on. No, but do you know what's happened now? We've got so many sponsors. We've turned into Luke Show checking hello. We've got little stickers everywhere.
And obviously, yeah, we're grateful anyway. But we're going to talk about Leon Haslam in a bit because we're going to be talking to him. But can we just have a quick recap of what we've seen in the first rounds of MotoGP, just really quickly to run through? We saw Fabio Quartararo take his first 2 victories, suddenly become the most successful Frenchman ever. Incredible enough as it is. We saw some incredible heroics from Alex Rins, Cal Crutchlow, and Marc Marquez. Marc unable to give it a go at the end. A lot of talk about that. Matt Oxley has put up a tweet, which has just summed it up perfectly. Which is he spoke to his doctor and said, "What do you think about this?" And the doctor said, "My job as a doctor is just to advise people of risks. I'm not there to be paternalistic. I'm not there to be their dad, basically. I'm just there to tell them the risks, and then they make up their own minds." And I think that's about right, isn't it? That's about where we were with it, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It was all we always said with all 3 injuries. It was down to the riders' decision to ride. Obviously, they had to pass a fitness test, and the fitness test wasn't easy at all. If you saw Marquez doing full press,
did you see that?
I was like, "Oh my God!"
I couldn't do. And he's doing the one with his legs up.
Yeah, unreal.
I mean,
so it's proper fitness test. Cal Crutchlow, they were saying they grabbed hold of his wrist and they were yanking it. And then you can imagine the fresh scar. They're like pushing down on the scar.
Well, I saw the doctor in one session come up to Cal in the garage, middle of a session, and press. And I'm thinking, what? You do that on anything? Like, I've got a paper cut on my finger, and you press a paper cut, and it's agony, isn't it? It is. They're worse though. Paper cuts are worse, aren't they? They are
way worse.
Yeah.
But
I think we've had so many stories come out of those first 2 rounds, haven't they? Like, what's Pecco Bagnaia on the Ducati, Yamaha and their engines, what's going on there? So many things that we're going to be able to follow throughout the year.
Nakagami from nowhere all of a sudden found speed and was nearly on the podium.
Almost overnight.
We haven't mentioned Rossi. Rossi literally was disastrous at the first round, and even he was thinking about retirement. We're all going, "Oh no, is this what's going to be the end of Rossi's career?" Oh no. A week later, he's on the podium. I mean, it's been a bizarre start to the season, hasn't it?
Absolutely ridiculous. And a 50-point lead for Fabio Quartararo. Marc's going to be back almost certainly at Brno. And
going wild. And he has to win.
Desperation. But we know, desperate in the first race, it's box office, isn't it? It is box office. You want to buy a ticket to see it. And
amazing.
You know that he was a second off at Jerez. With a broken arm. If you've seen the X-rays, go and have a look at his Instagram. He swiped through. He's got about 10 photos of all the different things. Honestly, seriously incredible. So, off of the cap to him, to Cal as well, great rider, and Alex Rins to bring it home in 10th place. I mean,
I know.
In a war of attrition, we're only 13 finished. I just thought we got served up so many good things in that opening round, and we've got World Superbike coming back, haven't we? When we're recording this weekend, so this is before the weekend happens, and that's got lots of stories, hasn't it? That's got a lot of excitement because your man Alex Lowe's is leading the championship, but there was a lot very, very close at the front. Scott Redding steps into World Superbike for the first time, and he's on it. And we've spoken to him. If you haven't heard that podcast, go back and listen to it. It is our most popular one for many reasons, but mainly because of how candid he is. And there's just so many stories, including Leon, who we're going to hear from now, and what Honda are going to have done in the interim.
Yeah. Well, that first round, there were 3 different winners. Top rank who moved from Kawasaki to Yamaha. He won the first race. Johnny won the sprint race. Then Alex won the last race. But it's on paper, it looks like we're on for a stunning World Superbike season. The first race didn't disappoint at Phillip Island, so there's much anticipation 5 months down the line of what is going to happen in Jerez. So they've all been testing. The times look relatively close. Redding's on fire, Johnny Ray's on fire, and Alex Lowe's is on fire. But the Yamahas aren't far behind. And then the Hondas are sort of a tenth behind the Yamahas. So it looks like it's going to be a tight race. But we know what it's like round Jerez. 20-odd laps around there in the heat, it's going to throw up some unknowns. Lots of unknowns.
You've got to manage your tyres. You're going to have to manage your tyres. We'll ask Leon about that, about what that means. And just a quick word on Leon. I know this is a long intro now, but Leon is someone who's still going strong, is the way I would describe it. Still going strong, and that is not meant to sound disparaging. I'd say the same about Valentino after what he did at the weekend. Still going strong, still churning out the results, still churning out the performances.
Yeah, well, you don't keep getting rides because you pay for them. Leon keeps getting good rides because the team see the work he puts in, they see his talent. Last year didn't go according to plan. He'd be the first person to say that, but it's not easy being Johnny Ray's teammate as well. I'll just add that to it. Obviously, before that, he won the British Superbike Championship. I mean, I raced against Leon. That's how long Leon's been racing. I raced against him in World Superbikes in 2003. He did a few rounds. He actually was at Haslam. So, but I've known Leon since he was a very serious young 5-year-old. Nothing like his personality now. Riding round on a little mini moto in the Norton colours, so it was all black. He had black leathers, and he used to ride around the paddock not smiling, dead serious. This was like when I'd be 18, 19.
Brilliant.
And I used to think, look at Leon Haslam, he's a miserable little sod. And how funny, like, so opposite.
You were judging a 5-year-old. You were judging.
I always judge 5-year-olds. No, but because he was a sort that I'd think, oh, Leon Haslam's son, and I'd go like, give him a thumbs up, and he'd just like look at me, just to go, weirdo. So,
So he had you spot on from the start then.
Yeah. Clearly a good judge even at 5 years old. But I've spent time up at the Haslam's house. I've been training with them. I've been motocrossing, dirt tracking, flying planes are on. I've seen it all and absolutely love the family. Love them. Honestly, down to earth, best people you'll meet in the paddock. Really, I mean, I can't say enough about them.
Right, well, let's go and have our chat with Leon in 2 parts.
Yeah, it's confusing. You'll see. Enjoy.
There he is. Oh, hurry up.
I can't see him.
You can't see him?
Here he is. Look at that
beard. Can you see me?
We can see you and we can hear you. Look at him with the sun shining down. Looks awful.
Got me a white
awful.
shirt on.
Do you like that? Okay, I'm ready for the barbecue. Have you just got off the golf course, literally? Because you look like you're on a golf cart.
I was golfing this morning, and I'm not going to admit it, but we actually lost. Me and Alex did, so we're having a rematch basically this afternoon. I can't go into the time frame.
Hey,
Lenny, have it.
Not that you're competitive or anything like that, just a bit of fun.
Hey, Leon, is it possible to turn your whatever it is to the side? Yeah, perfect. Yeah, that's ideal then. Then it just fills up a little bit more.
That better not be Alex. Is that Alex in the background?
Yeah, making the noise.
Trying to get in shot.
Exactly.
Oh,
so hang on. How long have we got you for? Because I understand you're busy.
Yeah, mate, I'm supposed to be teeing off in like 20 minutes, but it doesn't matter. We're playing Texas Scramble, so I can talk to you while I play.
Brilliant.
Right. Hey, this is a new one.
It's exactly. Crossing frontiers all the time, aren't we?
Exactly.
So you're in, I'm assuming then that are you in Monte Castillo or you're in Jerez anyway?
Yeah, I'm in Monte Castillo, arrived yesterday. So yeah, normal pre-race routine, a little game of golf to clear the mind, which obviously didn't work this morning because I lost. So this afternoon is to relax and clear the mind, basically.
Who beat you then? Who were you playing against?
I don't even want to admit who beat me. And Alex. Me and Alex played together, and Steve English and Rocky beat us.
Dave Ryan and Steve English. GP.
They absolutely destroyed us as well, like by 7 shots or something.
I love it.
Brilliant. Who did the damage? Because Steve's quite handy, isn't he?
I think he's been here for the whole MotoGP 2 weekends. So I think he's played golf every day on Monte Castillo. So we gave him 6 shots, and they ended up beating us by 6 shots gross. So it was like 12 shots they beat us by in the end.
Well, I'm disappointed. That's not. I mean, that's clearly why you're going out to make sure it's a better feeling.
Yeah, it wasn't normal. There was something definitely going on, so we're going to rectify it this afternoon.
I love the thought of Dave Rocky Ryan smoking you. There's something I like about that.
He was out driving us all. I don't know what he was doing. I'm convinced there was cheating in some way. I've just not figured out how yet.
No, Dave, Rocky doesn't cheat at all, does he? He doesn't cheat. Whether he hits one straight or not is another matter. I mean, that's always been the way with him. How's things anyway? How have you been? How have you spent the since Qatar? Obviously, you've all been laying low. So what have you been up to, Leon?
Yeah, obviously, Phillip Island for me was good in some ways, negative on others. It was the very first race after a minimal amount of testing for the new Honda, the new team, new project. But in race 1, with 2 laps to go, I was in the fight for the podium and for the win. We did have some issues. Races 2 and 3, we had some electrical problems. I got took out. I crashed. It was not ideal from a results point of view, but the fact that we were so close and we was ahead of my teammate in pretty much every session again. We took a lot of positives from it, but then going into a 3-month break, it was kind of, I don't know, what's the word really? Just I was just wanting to get going. I didn't want to be sitting at home for 3 months thinking about what could have been. Obviously, we had a lot of tests planned for Suzuka, which all got cancelled, and a lot of testing with the team, which again's not happened. So, to finally get back out last month was really nice. I've spent the last month out here in Spain just with the team, just trying to obviously build that connection. And, the tests in both Montmello and in Aragon went really well. Obviously, we've got so much to do, so much to try, and so much to come together as a team. But at the same time now, I just kind of want to go racing. It's feels a little bit weird that we've not rode a race for such a long time. From a physical point of view, I think I'm the fittest I've ever been. I've never had more than 2-3 weeks off. This winter was the first winter I've never had an operation, and I've just had 3 months of cycling and training. So, yeah, from a physical point of view, I'm feeling really strong. Super motivated and just want to get going, really.
Obviously, I meant Phillip Island, by the way. I got that wrong right at the start, so apologies. Same time of the year, I get confused. Go on.
Gav, you're an absolute wanker.
Yeah, I know that. That's standard.
I love that. I'm annoyed in a way that we can only speak to you for a real short time, because I was looking back at your career, and even I forgot. I mean, obviously we've known each other all through your career, but I forgot how much you've done. But also, you touched on it there, how many injuries you've had. You've been so bloody unlucky, like massive injuries as well, like lots of operations, like you say, almost every year. Talk us through a bit of that, how hard it's been to keep basically right at the top of your game with all those injuries.
Yeah, it's always hard. I don't think any professional racer is racing injury-free. They're always managing something or an existing injury or whatever it may be. And, I'm really into my fitness, as you know, with Kurt and train with the Lowe's boys and, motocross kids. And I'm now helping a few other young riders. And, looking back at all my old results, I keep all my old results of fitness tests and how fast I could run 10 mile in or whatever it may be. And, everything's always a compromise. But like I say, every year you accept that, you can't run anymore, or your knee doesn't bend that far, or whatever it may be. You always compromise and make the most of any situation. But to actually have a period of time of just, working on yourself, getting back to, I would say, normality, it's amazing how much more energy and how good I feel and everything else about it. And honestly, it's you take for granted of waking up in the morning and being able to just do normal things. And like I say, I do feel quite positive on that respect. And kind of a rare occasion for me, going from year to year and only having a 2-3 week gap, in the winter time.
I know you're not as old as Valentino, but you've been racing pretty much about the same time as him, Leon. We just lost your picture for a second. But I just wonder if you can take anything from what he did in Grand Prix last week in terms of, and it seemed for him like those months off were recharging his batteries. Have you found something similar? Oh, we lost him there. You haven't got him, Neil, have you?
No, I haven't got him. No. His battery's probably gone on his phone.
Yeah, he'll have been using his GPS out on the course.
Yeah.
But anyway, while he's sorting that out, we might as well. I'll ask you about, how old is he now? 30?
37.
37, yeah, 37, 38, round about there. Because I remember him from Grand Prix back in, he was there from 99, 2000. 2000 was it? Around about, Italjet. And then I remember him 500s. And you say that, and he has done absolutely everything, hasn't he?
Yeah. Do you know what, as well? He's rode for nearly every manufacturer. I even wrote them down. He's rode for pretty much everyone except Yamaha.
I wonder who's calling.
That's Brogy.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So listen to this. He's rode for Italjet, BMW, Honda, Suzuki, Kawasaki, Aprilia, and Ducati. But the best thing is, I was thinking this as well. Not only has he ridden for all those manufacturers, ridden all those motorcycles, but usually he's been riding for the manufacturer as well. So there's so many questions you could ask him about what are the differences between, obviously, I never rode for BMW, what that's like.
The way you're working for the Germans, for the Italians, for the Japanese. Yeah. Yeah, we'll be able to do it.
Pretty unusual you get a rider that's done so much. And I was thinking this, so 37 years old, still at the top of his game. I know it's a little bit like when we talk about Marc Marquez, you go, he can do this and he can do that, and you almost want to rule Marquez out. You go, because that's not normal. Valentino Rossi, obviously, podium at the weekend. That's Alex calling me. Let me just find out, because Alex is with him. Now then. Yeah, no problem. I'll do that. All right, cheers. So basically, I was right. My phone's died. Can you send Alex the link?
Brilliant.
It's just these two, honestly, just crack me up. What was I saying? Oh yeah, but like Leon, he's still at the top of his game. You look at Alvaro Bautista last year, winning all those races. You thought he was pretty much the man. Honda sign him, he's going to be right there or thereabouts on that Honda. And in pretty much every test, Leon's been quicker than him. And the first race weekend, like Leon said, didn't quite go according to plan, but it was right there with Bautista. You'd still say he's obviously a top doer, So he's still good at it. But I think Leon will race into his 40s and still be really competitive. I know he's the ultimate chip off the old block. Ron Haslam is a proper legend. Still a machine in his 60s. Like, you wouldn't want to race Ron Haslam right now. You wouldn't. You know what I mean? Like, he's that fast because he still rides, obviously, in the schools, and he still trains with Leon. So he's razor sharp. But I think Leon will be the same.
Without a doubt. Here he is.
I'm back.
So hang on.
Technical issue.
So now you're just using Alex's phone because you're going to try and. There'll be some cost element to it where it'll cost Alex now. Don't tell him.
Yeah, exactly. I'm using his credit.
Exactly.
He's got pay as you go, hasn't he? He's got pay as you go. Yeah. I was just saying, Leon. Obviously, you're into your late 30s now, and I remember you from way back in Grand Prix, and you've done so much, as Hodgie was saying. But do you take heart from what Valentino did last weekend in Grand Prix, for example, and for the fact that you've had this downtime for the first time? For him, it seemed to recharge his battery. It seemed to give him, I don't know, he either missed it or got time at home that he hadn't had and realised, I still love this and I'm still enjoying it. Is that a fair comment?
Yeah, I absolutely love Valentino. Everyone kind of writing him off, all the youngsters coming through. But, he's an absolute class act, all the championships that he's won. And to see that motivation, to see what he's done with the camp, to get that back. And, obviously I've had years where I've been injured and you get down and obviously you second guess yourself. But honestly, I feel the best I've ever felt. I feel that I'm riding really strong. And, the biggest thing from my side is that, I've come into the Honda team, obviously for my experience, for the Suzuka experience, etc. But dominantly, they've employed Alvaro Bautista, who come into a championship brand new and won 15 races off the bounce. And, what better person for me to have alongside me in the garage? And every single test I've done, I've been faster than him. And that for me is such a boost in confidence to know that, I'm literally competing at that level that a guy literally should have won the World Championship last year, and for me, that motivation, the motivation of developing a new bike, which, I'm all about, And the fact that, you know, when we get things together, this could be my opportunity to be world champion. It's, you know, I'm absolutely buzzing.
I love it. But basically, that's just what we were saying, wasn't it, Gav? It's pretty much exactly what we were saying. At 37, you are at the absolute top of your game, you know. And I don't take this wrongly on. I think a lot of people didn't expect you to be as fast as Alvaro. I think everybody expected him to maybe have half a second on you. But it really shows that, you know, that you can still do it.
Yeah, now for me, it's a massive confidence boost. You know, always I try my hardest, and you do what you can do. And you know, I'm not hiding the fact that I struggled last year. You know, coming back into World Championship alongside Johnny, you know, having to ride a certain way, overriding it as I normally do, and making a lot of mistakes. You know, it wasn't a great year for me, but you know, this year has been a completely different mindset. You know, I've come in, they've changed and adapted to everything that I've wanted. You know, we've been consistently progressing, getting faster, and obviously quicker than the guy that they've in theory employed to win the World Championship. So from a confidence point of view, I'm absolutely beaming. I'm so happy with Honda, what they're doing and the effort that they're putting in. I've got no complaints. Yeah,
about the effort that they're putting in there. I'm intrigued what they might have done in this downtime, because I know there'll have been factories closed at some point along the line. But I also know Honda, and I know the way they work, and they'll always be trying to find solutions. And it is a bike in development, isn't it? So I just wonder, are you aware of them having been able to do things in the interim period between Phillip Island and what you've got coming up in Jerez?
Yeah, the fourth is HRC. The emails and the people that's emailing me is the people that, you know, you can't get any higher, you know, and the work that they're doing in Japan, obviously it has been a bit of a stopper on development, the fact that we've not been able to ride, we've not been able to test, but that hasn't stopped them from, you know, pushing on the development, the emails, and, you know, every time we go anywhere, the effort that we've got there is phenomenal. And
can you hear us, Leon?
Frozen. Nice little...
Yeah. Model pause.
Yeah. All right. Shall we convene later on then? Reconvene.
Yeah. What we already knew about motorcycle races is they're absolute competitive weirdos, aren't they? So essentially what's happened is we've been totally blown off only because they lost. Him and Alex lost in a game of golf. So anyone who's played a game of golf, it's 18 holes. It's about 3 hours, 3.5 hours.
4 hours. Often 4 hours. Easy.
Often 4 hours. I find it quite boring. I don't mind hitting the ball every now and again. But the thought of doing another round of golf in the day.
And anyone who watched Grand Prix, watched MotoGP, knows it's slightly warm at the moment in Jerez.
Yeah. They're a pair of idiots, aren't they, basically? They're a pair of idiots, but I love them.
At least they can't hurt themselves doing that. Maybe sunburn. Maybe sunburn's the only issue.
Well, exactly. Well, you know what Leon's like? He's Mr. Suntan anyway, because he goes really dark. Alex Lowe's, on the other hand,
look like a beetroot.
Got that pale skin, so he's going to have a burnt neck all weekend.
That's why you used to have that. Was it a pink helmet you had once? You can blend it in, a pink number on it. Exactly. Right. Okay. Well, let's redo this.
Reconvene
later on.
Easy. No problem.
Hey, this is life.
Allora,
dai. Right. Ciao.
Ciao.
Right, so we can get back now to where we were. Do you remember what your question was? I haven't got a clue. Right, let's get back. The thing is, people who are listening are going to know exactly what the question was, but I can't remember. I do remember one of my questions.
What, the 5 hours ago question?
He's had a he's had a lot of time to think about it.
Look at, he's such a handsome man, isn't he? Look.
You want me this way?
Yeah, that's perfect. The first question, and it's not necessarily the one that we were asking you when it was all got a bit crackly, Leon. Did you win?
Obviously.
Otherwise, you'd still be out there.
just have a little look at the two miserable two over there, and you can tell who's won.
Oh dear.
That's so funny.
They shot 70 actually. Shot 2 under par. We had a really good day.
Yeah.
Superb. So how sunburnt are you?
Are you guys on the piss then? Because obviously you normally drink on a Wednesday before you race, don't you? You know, get absolutely leathered.
Yeah, well, obviously I was on the phone to you, so I didn't even have a chance to buy any water before I played. So I'm dehydrated, so I've just necked a bottle of water. supposed to be over-hydrating for the 60 degrees of track temperature that's coming.
What's temperature like there now? Because obviously at the Grand Prix at the weekend, it was 40, track temperature over 60. What is it cooled down or has it got worse?
I think it's predicting for race 1, 43 degrees air temperature. So
nice.
Oh,
nice.
Loving it. First race back.
even hotter. All joking apart, though, is it something you worry about, or is it? Have you ridden them conditions before that hot?
Yeah, obviously Suzuka's can get extreme. It's more the humidity there than the actual temperature, and Malaysia. And in all fairness, I actually love them sort of conditions because I know others are going to struggle, and that's where the mind over matter of you can come out on top and have that little advantage. But the biggest thing I'm worried about is actually the heat from my right foot, the exhaust. I really get bad blisters on from the heat from the exhaust there. So I have everything. That's the one thing that I'm not looking forward to.
Oh,
is that something that's what happens with a couple of bikes, or is that particular to the Honda, or what?
Yeah, obviously each bike's different, but any bike that comes that close, you obviously can run heat shields, which Honda's got, and all that sort of stuff. But it does get uncomfortable, and and especially for the Suzuka 8 hour, you end up going down the straight with your feet up in the air to try and obviously get a little bit of cooling. But it can get uncomfortable. But honestly, I'm actually looking forward to it. This track gets super greasy in all conditions. It's all about managing it. Definitely the lap times aren't going to be what they was in January when we was doing 38s and 39. So, if you can keep a consistent rhythm and not make any mistakes, that's the first thing you've got to do in these conditions.
I know you probably can't say anything in terms of tyres and in terms of Pirelli because obviously they supply everybody. But obviously we know what happened. Michelin had what they had to deal with at the weekend. How does a Pirelli fare in those kind of conditions then? When it gets, so when you're racing in Thailand or in Malaysia or something like that, how does it fare as things go on later on in the race?
Yeah, I've read all different types of tyre manufacturers, and they're all the same. You've got to manage the grip. Hotter it gets, greasier it gets. It's all about loading the front tyre in a nice way because the physical isn't the grip from the hot tarmac to the rubber. So it doesn't really matter what manufacturer, and it all gets managed in the same way. And having a really good balanced bike. The Yamaha showed really well here last year because they turn naturally quite well. So in the hot conditions, when everyone else loses that turning ability, a bike that turns really well actually sometimes helps in the hotter conditions. And probably hence why there's 3 Yamahas on the podium in MotoGP. It's a really good turning bike, which as it gets hotter, that's the first thing that you lose. You lose that grip of the tyre. So instead of relying on that front tyre to grip to get the bike to turn, the natural turning bike will fare well in the hotter conditions.
What are the strong points of this new Honda then?
Honestly, the Honda for me right now, it's quite a good balance bike. We've changed the balance quite a lot. It's really stable. The electronics package is probably one of the best that I've had, but we've just not put it all together yet. So fundamentally, it's got everything that is pretty much straight from MotoGP. The power's obviously there, but again, we need to manage it. So everything is kind of there, but we just need to put it all together. For me, is the main thing. And the advantages that Kawi, Yamaha, and potentially the Ducati has is that they have all that information, they have the data. So how a bike is competitive on the first part of the race, and or we can set it up for the middle part of the race. But at the minute, there's quite a big variance from the first laps to the middle to the end, and it's trying to get a bike that doesn't vary too much over the 18 laps that we make.
Yeah, and that, obviously it's a new bike, isn't it? The fact that a lot of things are new on that bike. Obviously, Honda aren't its World Superbike by any stretch, but to have a factory effort, it's been a while where they've put it in. So, is it closer than you might have imagined at the start of the year?
Yeah, honestly, the starting point was quite different from. I think a lot of the information that Honda has isn't from World Superbike and it isn't from Pirelli tyres. And luckily, with my experience from jumping backwards and forwards from Suzuka 8 hour to British Championship to World Championship, is a very clear understanding of what each tyre needs, to perform. And at the minute, the difference between going from Bridgestone, say, in Suzuka to World Championship, the fundamental balance of the bike is completely the opposite. So the direction that we've gone has been very clear. The understanding of what is needed for a Pirelli tyre to go fast is very clear. And that's kind of where we've headed in a very short period of time, and how fast Honda's adapted to that is very, very impressive from my point of view. But still, we yet to, put it onto the track and get a result with it. It's kind of just been done in the testing, and like I say, they've reacted really fastly, but we do need to go racing and put it to the test. And
Leon, is the rocket there with you?
He's flying out tomorrow morning. He's been a big help, to be honest with you. He's, his experience around the circuit has been fantastic. It's been at all the tests so far this year, and we're working in the same way as always.
Because he's obviously it's your dad. Just for the people that don't know, we're talking about Ron Haslam, absolute legend. I know how close you are to him because you still live at home. You've got your own place, but you basically live, less than 100 meters away from your dad. You spend a lot of time with him. What's the sort of key to that relationship? Because I could not live 100 meters away from my dad. And as much as I love my dad, he's in my head in. You've got such a special relationship.
We have got a unique relationship, and it's totally different to any father and son, I would say, relationship. I'm helping managing a few young kids right now, and I'm having to deal with 6 young kids and 6 dads, and it's the absolute biggest nightmare of my whole life. And everything that I've tried to convince teams to get my dad involved and to use his experience, I'm saying the exact opposite to all these kids, and it's an absolute nightmare. But from that perspective, it has been different. My dad is my biggest critic, but I've always had to do the opposite. He's never been the pushy dad. He tried to put me off from racing. I have to actually push him to get involved, to get his input to help me. And a lot of the stuff that we work on now is actually him videoing and being out on the circuit. It's not necessarily about setup because, I've got a good bunch of guys and a team behind me for that. But, to be able to bounce ideas off of him, for him to visually see things out on the circuit and knowing, it wasn't always this way. When I was 18, 19, we used to argue all the time. We used to I thought I knew better. And, and I won my first ever World Superbike race. And his first comment was that I was crap in turn 10. And, they're the sort of things that you realise at the end of the day, he's only trying to help me. And, race 2, when I won my first race in 2010, I lost the race in turn 10 because I was doing what he told me that I should be doing. So, you realise that at the end of the day, he is there to help. His experience is unbelievable. And when I accepted that, we turned off the father and son relationship, and I turned on a relationship that has just helped me tenfold in every team that I've been in.
Hang on, just quickly, Gav. A question on that, because there's always been a competition. Whenever I've been round to your house, everything's a competition anyway, but like your dad still does everything. If that's trials biking, training stuff, bizarre things on push bikes, whatever. Is there anything your dad can still beat you at? There's a question.
You know what was really funny? He does a lot of teaching, especially on the smaller bikes, the 300s and the 500s at the race course. And once a year, I'll get, the Lowe's boys or Johnny or whoever it is, and we have a play, on a bog standard bike, normally on the littler bikes. And, most of the time you flat out on them. And my dad is faster than all of us on these little bikes. And I think he practices all year. And then literally we'll get like one session with him, and he literally just pulls away from us all. And it was like, yeah, he loves that. But yeah, hence why I don't go on him anymore.
Steer clear. I want to know what it was like though, growing up with Ron and Anne, obviously your mum, but growing up in the paddock, because we talk to all these kids who are sort of doing it right now. But you grew up in a paddock, didn't you? What was that? What was that like for you?
I see it as such an awesome way of being brought up. I was 6 weeks old. I was being travelled the world with my dad doing Grand Prix, and my early memories is playing in Elf Honda as tent and Serge Rosset hanging me from the awning poles and riding around bikes. For me, that was just normal life. And when I got to an age where I was riding and doing motocross, my dad had actually come back from Grand Prix, and he was running Team Great Britain. So for 8 years, I had riders living on camp beds outside my bedroom in my own house. James Hayden, Carl Harris, all these riders lived in the house with mechanics. Every day we trained together. So from 8 years of age, I had a team and riders and mechanics living in my house. So every day was a play day. Every Friday there was no training. It was having fun. It was who could jump the furthest. It was who could, do tricks or whatever it may was. So for me, I've lived every day in that way. And Neil's been to the farm and seen that sort of thing, and that's what I love. That is the passion, and it doesn't have to be bikes. It could be disconnecting brakes or push bikes, and who could be the fastest down the hill without braking and stuff. And it's just general stupid things that we would do. And and I've been lucky enough to live that every day. And I can remember one of my earliest memories was playing PlayStation in Alex's Barrister's motorhome for 2 days straight. He had pretty much every game that they had in the back of his motorhome. And them memories for me will last forever. And to see those sort of people and be a part of it as an early age, it definitely gave me that one. In my mind, I've only ever been wanted to be a bike racer.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Was that it? Once you were growing up like that, was that was the only thing that was going to work for you was being a racer? Is that fair to say? Yeah.
Yeah, I've looked at my little diaries when I was 6-7 years old, and it's like, what did you do at the weekend? What's in the news today, and what do you want to be when you're older? And pretty much everyone was the same. I went racing with my dad at the weekend. Some rubbish that happened on the news that day, and I'm going to be world champion in World Superbike. Whatever it was like the same every day. And in all fairness, my dad tried to put me off for several years. The story's been documented quite heavily with, he put me off when I broke my leg for the first time. He even said he couldn't afford to do it anymore. And I think he really wanted me to want it for myself. But in my head, that's all I've ever wanted to do. And, when he realised that, then that's when I felt that he actually started helping and supporting me, to make the best go of it that I can.
And what about your kids then? Because obviously you've got kids. How do you feel about them potentially racing? Because they're getting to that age now, I guess, if there's any interest, are you doing the same tactic as your dad?
100%. I've not pushed my kids at all. There's more downs than there are ups in racing, and you need to want it. And helping young kids now and training, it highlights so much to me that if someone wants it or not, it's irrelevant of how natural talent they are, or even irrelevant of how fast they are. You can pretty much tell if someone wants it or not. And, we spotted that in the Lowe's boys at an early age, and their want and their drive. It doesn't matter their ability or what they'll ever achieve. You want to help and support those people. And I'll never, ever push anyone that doesn't really want it for themselves. And for me, from a kid's point of view, even less. I'd rather put them off and let them come to me and see if they want to do it. And we've got on bikes and they have fun on bikes on the farm, but it definitely has to be their choice.
I wonder I remember when I first got to know you, Leon, was in Grand Prix when you were over there as a kid. I was a kid, but you were even younger as a kid over there. And we had a bit of fun here and there. But I just wonder, do you ever feel you never got a fair crack at it in Grand Prix racing, in 500s? Because you were on the twin, and then in the middle of the season, Chris Walker stopped. You're thrown on the V4 all of a sudden. You were 18 still. 18 years of age and one of the youngest in the Premier class ever, and you're riding the V4 that was out there, and it just
that nobody could ride.
Nobody could ride, and you just chucked in at the deep end.
Honestly, what I gained from that year, it wasn't ever going to progress me in my career. But racing against Valentino Rossi and your Kenny Roberts, and jumping off of a 125 Ital jet that blew up 16 out of 18 races straight onto a 500. And I remember having a big battle with Arachi Karaoke at Suzuka, and it was phenomenal. When I jumped on the V4, I crashed twice every weekend, and I mean crashed big. And my confidence that year was shot. By the end of the year, I wasn't riding great, but what that year gave me, and this was one conversation that I had with my dad that will always stand out, is that he come to me and is like, why are you racing? He saw that I was riding with no confidence. He saw that I was, trying too hard in the wrong areas, hence why I was crashing, but 2-3 seconds off the pace. And he's basically said that, if you're not enjoying it, why are you putting yourself through all this pain, all this, what it may be? And he put it to me that, he's lost 2 brothers in racing, and he didn't care if the worst scenario happened. And he says he would rather do what he was doing and have that as an outcome than not do it at all. And it made me realize or understand that I do want this. It doesn't matter of the outcomes, and it doesn't matter if I crash every single session. I want to be a racer. I want to be the best that I can be. And it made me overcome my insecurities, my lack of confidence. And that year really highlighted to me that no matter what, this is what I want to do. And I had to go through the tough times and experience all those crashes to realize that, no, that this is what I want. This is what I want for me, and I will get through this. And that, for me, that was a big turning point in a realization. Instead of being 18 and having a bit of fun traveling the world, it was like, I need to make this work for me and give it my all. And these crashes and lack of confidence is a mindset that I need to get over. And for me, that was a big turning point.
Yeah. Here's one for you, Lenny. You've not retired. The best, hopefully, is still yet to come. But looking back at your long career, because it is long, what's been the highlights or the highlight? What's the moment where you go, bloody hell, that was incredible?
Winning Suzuka 8 Hour was a massive achievement for me, and winning it back to back. You know, the first year that we won it, I was on crutches. You know, to win it back to back was fantastic, and it was such a big sort of team effort. That was a big one. 2010, winning my first World Superbike race and taking Max Biaggi on a factory Aprilia, you know, to the final round. It all come too easy, and at the time, I never really appreciated how good and easy and everything was coming. And it was only then the years afterwards trying to develop a BMW and going on the, you know, not a very competitive Honda and all those sort of things. It made me realize how hard, you know, it was when things wasn't right. So ever since 2010, I've been trying to replicate a feeling, an easy way of riding, not overriding. And my biggest downfall in my career that I've always overrid. So when things hasn't been right and I should settle for a fourth or a fifth, I've always overrode and got a worse result out of it. And that's normally ended in injuries or crashes or just basically making too many mistakes. And, you know, when I won the British Championship, because I could ride at 75, 80%, I won 15 races and it was the easiest year of my life. It wasn't meaning that I wasn't riding any slower to do that. I just didn't have to over try, and I had a really good year. And for me, that's one thing that I've learned now is that you've got to ride within yourself to get the best result, and overriding doesn't necessarily give you a better result.
I say that, Gav, in commentary, don't I?
Yeah.
What I say is, if a rider's going through a tough period, what the fans think at home is like, the words of encouragement is, listen, you need to get in there and give it some, and really, but the rider's already giving it 100%. And usually what happens then, as you try harder, you go slower, don't you? You make more mistakes or you fall off. So it's that half a step back, isn't it, to get the most out of yourself, which is difficult.
100%. It's controlled aggression, understanding where you can and can't push. And all racers always try harder in the areas that they're already good. And that's normally the place that you're probably already on the limit. So, you know, it's analysing your weak points and improving those and accepting that your strong points just to keep it the same. And again, it's about self-analysing, and you know, it's took me a lot of years to do that rather than just ride harder and go faster.
and talking of a lot of years, when you just mentioned there winning in Britain and winning the championship, I wonder what it felt like for you after all those years through Grand Prix, through the British Championship and World Super and backwards, you know, each way. I just wonder what the sensation was when you finally did it and you got that hug off your dad at the end. I just wonder what, you know, whether it was relief, whether it was delight, or I don't know, how was that to finally, you know, take that championship?
Honestly, it was just relief. It was like, yeah, finally. You know what I mean? It's like, we've ticked that box that I should have ticked several times before, and you know, at least we've done it now. And the fact that I knew that I was moving back to World Championships, it was like my mind was already on that. You know, it's like that's where I want to be. It's what I want to do. And you know, there's no doubt that I will be back in the British Championship, and I want to win more British titles. You know, later on in my career. But yeah, right now.
I said that to Gav, didn't I?
Yeah.
I said that when you weren't on. I said the thing is with Leon is he'll go back to BSB. I know he will because. And I don't mean because you're going to fail at World Championship levels. Whatever happens at World Championships, and even if you win a world title, I know you'll be back at BSB because of your passion and your love for it, and you want to win more titles. That's brilliant.
No, 100%. My focus is if I'm on this Honda and I can get another year out of it and try and win a World Championship, that is what I want to do. I believe that is possible. I believe I can do it. But if I'm not on a package that I believe that can win a World Championship, I'm more than happy to go back to try and win another British title. You know, I love those years in England. I love the challenge of it. You know, it's kind of back to old school racing as far as the way that it's all set up. So for me, that is something that I know I will do later on in my career. Hopefully it's a bit later on and I can have a couple of years at trying to be a world champion.
We couldn't.
Hey, at 40 years old, though, I want to see a 40-year-old British Superbike champion. That's
why not, though? Why not?
I like the fact that Bayliss is still winning races in Australia at 50. That's amazing.
Exactly, exactly. You won't stop him, and it's a similar kind of just never say die passion and attitude that's there. And it was a question that I asked you before, actually, and I'm glad we can come back to it because we couldn't quite hear you when you were out on the golf course psyching yourself up to destroy Steve English and Rocky. Was about Valentino Rossi and the fact that he was still going on strong, but he's going to keep going, isn't he? Did that give you a bit of encouragement at the weekend?
Valentino's been a hero of mine for so many years, and what he's achieved, what he's been doing, you can't ever take that away from him. But to see the passion that he's got, the speed that he's got, and it is fantastic. I see my dad, he's 63 years old, and the passion that he's got for bike racing, and he's up at 4 a.m. getting pitch bikes ready or trials bikes ready or whatever it may be. He absolutely loves it. In the lockdown, when lockdown opened up, he's done like 9 track days, my dad, on a CB500, and he absolutely loves it. And I see that in Rossi. He's been, he's got that new life, he's got his academy, and it definitely has not slowed him down. And and for me, that is fantastic. And for him to get on the podium again at the weekend's awesome. And did the
lockdown? I think for me, we spoke to Valentino a couple of times during lockdown, and he sort of said it was the longest he'd ever had at home, longest that he'd ever got to spend time, with his mum, with his girlfriend, a bit of family time, but away from bikes. And actually, you couldn't go out on the bike. So, to me, it seemed like his batteries were recharged. Do you feel that similar sort of thing? You've had that first chance since you were, 14.
Yeah, honestly. If I could ride a bike every day, I would. And I do get to ride more than most with the facilities that I've got and, being out in Spain for the month that I've been here. But, when you can't ride a bike for 3 months, it makes you want it even more. And, then you're driven to, go on these 3-hour cycles, which I hate cycling. I hate all that long, boring stuff, more, high intensity, whatever it may be. And, it drives you to do those things because all you're thinking about is getting back on a bike. And when you're going from race to race and test to test, you do lose that drive because it's like, I've got to do this, I've got to do the other, I've got to fly to this event. But when you're stuck at home and you can't ride a bike, there's nothing better than that to give you that fire again and to want to get back going.
Lenny, you talk about being smooth. When I've been up at Ed Warren's at the flat track, I have never seen a wilder man on 2 wheels. You are honestly, Gav, it's so entertaining to watch him. Like literally, you don't need to time him. You just go, he must be the fastest man in the planet. Nobody could go any faster, but it's so wild. It's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's not normally the fastest way either. I'm just...
But hey, it's one of the... Who cares? It is the ultimate, nobody cares. It's honestly, you should see him, Gav. He's so entertaining.
I'm even worse on a motocross bike. That's why I try and stay off them.
I can imagine, because you were a motocrosser as a kid, weren't you? You did
motocross, British champion, British schoolboy champion.
Yeah, but that's probably my issue is that in my head, I still think I can do all the things I did back then. And I ride a bike probably twice a year in the winter. And if I get away with them 2 days, I count myself lucky and then put it back in the shed. So now, honestly, I've been doing a lot of pit biking. I've been doing a lot of trials riding. I do a lot of trials riding. I really like that from a fitness point of view and a focus point of view. And it's only recently I've got into flat tracking. We've got a place up at Ed Warren's that's fantastic in the UK. And I base myself now in Barcelona where, they're everywhere. The tracks, Rocco's Ranch, there's a few places that we go to. And, in this winter, I went for 18 days and I rode 16 days out of the 18. And every day you're with, Espargaros, Zarcos, Marquez's, and, it's just such geared up for that. And for me, that's something that, I'm helping a lot of young kids out, but I got them out there just to get them to ride various bikes, whatever it may be. And for me, that is a big, big boost, I think, in anyone.
Who's the quickest when you're out there and you're doing the motocross or the flat track with, all the Spanish or pretty much every MotoGP riders out there? Who's the standout that you go, bloody hell, you want to see this kid?
You know what? I've been motocrossing with Mark, and he's exceptional on the motocross bike. I've not been flat tracking with him. I rode with Darby, Supermoto, and I've rode with Vinales. He's pretty quick on the motocross. None of them are bad. None of them are bad at any of these things. We had a really good laugh this winter. We had a really wet day at Rocco's Ranch, and think there's me, Zarko, Paul. There's quite a few of us, and we all kept crashing at least 3 times a lap. We literally couldn't make a lap, and like one would go down, and then you splash past them, and it was just like one of those fun days. But obviously, from our point of view, we're there to train, and it's not all about the lap times. But obviously, you want to push a little bit harder, and it does get a little bit competitive, as you probably know.
A little bit competitive.
Yeah, we need to get the cameras there, get the BT Sport cameras there. It would be entertaining just to see what goes on behind the scenes.
All the things, all up there in Northeast between Andorra and Barcelona and that triangle there is just so much, and Girona's all so much going on, and especially in the winter, isn't it? When everyone gets down there and everyone gets. I fear for the team managers who are worrying. They're all like that, waiting for the phone call.
No, it is good, and there's nothing like it. Over the years that I've been racing, I used to do fitness camps in America where you're training 3 times a day, and not really riding any bikes, and you turn up at the first race absolutely knackered with arm pump and really, really struggling. And then I've done winters where I've just rode trials bikes and motocross and turned up really fresh. And I feel now we've got a really good balance. We do a lot of gym stuff up until Christmas, and then January we turn that into bike fitness with flat track, motocross, whatever it may be. And yeah, for me, I feel we've got like a really good program, a little thing that we do every year now. And I physically come round 1, I feel ready and don't really struggle on the bike anymore physically. Which older you get, you should probably find it a little bit more harder. But honestly, I'm finding it easier and easier every year. So whatever we do seems to be working.
And tell everybody about training with Kirk and the atmosphere there, because obviously I've been there training with you. Just explain what it's like.
It's horrible. It's horrible.
It's horrible. That's the best description to start with. It's horrible because it's pure torture, Gav. Explain it. Go on.
It's such high intensity, but what a lot of people don't see is that we're doing that every day. So come Friday, you can get somebody that's not really done much all week, and we're finished. We're absolutely done. And Kurt will throw some circuit or a competition in. And because we're all racers and boxers and footballers and all the guys that he trains, nobody wants to be last. Everybody wants to win. So the levels that you push yourself to, honestly, it's like, it's addictive, and it's exactly what I love about training, because, there's no giving up, and you have to give it 110%. And, and that's for me is the competition. That's what I enjoy.
What I love about Kirk's place, Gav, is it's an old school gym, and he trains all these top athletes, especially in our industry. But every now and again, you'll get like a sportsman turn up who thinks they're fit. But the beauty of when you train with Kirk is there is nowhere to hide, is there? You know what I mean? And if you're doing like one of the seals does all these different circuits, you'll be doing one. They do one called the motocross circuit, and it can last. Well, it depends how fit you are, but it could be like 24 minutes long. So you have to pace yourself. But people turn up, especially young kids turn up, don't they, Lenny? Right. They turn up thinking they're fit, and literally they can't even complete it because they've burnt themselves out. They go too hard too soon. I've heard all the stories. So many people end up being sick. It's just it's proper torture.
That would be me after 5 minutes.
We need to get Gav training with Kirk. Have you seen how much weight he's lost? He's lost 2 stone. He's ready.
Looking well, mate. You ready for Kirk?
No, absolutely no chance. I won't make it through the door without being sick.
I am gonna check you there. I'm gonna check you.
Well, okay. Well, you need to film the puddle of sweat that's left behind afterwards. What you've got your comeback race this weekend, Leon, after so long out. Right. How do you see it going? How do you see the week? I mean, is there going to be a bit of a getting to know you? Because, time's short over a World Superbike weekend, isn't it, in terms of track time? So, I'm assuming you've got a plan in place with your team. I know you've been in contact with them, that kind of thing. But what sort of thing are you expecting this weekend?
Yeah, honestly, I really believe in the package that we have is capable of fighting for the podium. But the issues that we have is we have 2 45-minute sessions, and then we're into Superpole and then a race. So to get up to speed, to find the setting, to iron out all the things that we haven't got, mapping, engine braking, all these strategies, and then also me getting up to speed and you're competing against Johnny on the Cowie, which is, is on that record pace straight away. The Ducati's already got the base set in. The Yamahas won both races last year and was super strong. We're competing against, that's just 6 riders straight away that we're already trying to bridge a gap. And if you're on the back foot in World Superbike, you end up going into race one, still making big changes rather than have done 1 or 2 race runs like everybody else. So it's that process is what we need to bridge that gap faster. I'm pretty confident that the pace will be there, but we need to do a race run in FP2. And, you know, if we're not ready to do a race run in FP2, the first time we do a race run is in the race, because that's the only session you can do a race run. And then it's those sort of things that, you know, we need to bridge that gap. We need to get the information faster.
People don't see that, Neil, do they? They don't see, you know, they come and they might look at a result on a timesheet or look at you in the race and sort of go, well, you know, I was expecting the Honda to be up there. I was expecting that. But it's a different set of circumstances, obviously, for every team. Everyone's got their own story and everyone's got everything going on. But, Neil, the fans at home need to have a look at, you know, getting it set up and prepared for a race. After 4 months out, it's not going to be easy. Someone could just look it, couldn't they? Could just look it out.
Well, Leon's mentioned it a few times. The problem everyone has is Johnny's still on the Kawasaki and he's first flying lap. And Johnny does it on purpose, obviously. He's very confident, very comfortable. And he wants to destroy everybody. So he goes out. So by the end of that first 45-minute session, that next session, he can do a race run. So he can then figure out the tyre combination. Where for Leon, that second session, that's when Leon will be doing all the big changes for the first time after his first 45 minutes on track. So that's probably, it could be anything from, you know, big changes like head angles.
You're basically trying to find the lap time still. And it's pointless doing a race run until you find the lap time. Yeah. So whatever it is, you know, if you only find the lap time going into race one, then you're not race prepared because you've literally only got to the pace that you know is good enough. So it's that knock-on effect of why you're on the back foot. But, you know, if we can find a good rhythm from the start and you can put that motions of understanding the race in FP2, then you're in for a good weekend.
Is it a good place to be at in the moment, World Superbike? I know over the last couple of years, people have sort of, I don't know, it's felt like it's drifted out of people's consciousness, but the last year sparked a bit of interest. I don't mean that to sound offensive. I'm not trying to say that. And what I'm trying to say is, I don't know, I was really excited, in particular about World Superbike this year. It was such a shame after a blue touch paper in Australia at the start of the year. We're all up for it, and obviously what happened. But is it a good place to be in, to be riding at the moment, do you feel?
Yeah, honestly, you know, the fact, you know, John is obviously the man to be. For me, the Ducati is an unbelievable package that, you know, demonstrated itself straight away in year one with Alvaro. You know, if you look at the manufacturers now, Yamaha is full factory, Honda are back in it full factory, Kawasaki, Ducati, BMW are back in it full factory. You know, the amount of manufacturers that are all putting in that effort, you know, the nationalities that are now back in the championship. Obviously, the British contingency is still very high, which is fantastic. But, you know, you've got now Japanese riders that's coming over, the best of Japan with Takahashi. You've got the best of America, you know, that's coming over. And, you know, Van der Mark from Netherlands. There's a wide range, and it is a proper world championship again now. And for me, that is what is exciting. When you win a race now, you feel good about that. You know what I mean? You are beating some of the best guys and the best manufacturers out there. And for me, that's where the atmosphere becomes, you know, strong. And obviously that rivalry that comes between any riders that are battling with each other.
Yeah, I agree with that, Gavin. Do you know what? I can't think, just thinking back when it was so competitive, this year is the year where it's taken a while to get back, but I think Leon just called it all there. The fact that all the major manufacturers now have a factory team, a proper factory team. It's not supporter teams, and you're getting a few parts here and there. We know it's proper factory efforts, and in these tough times, it's going to be interesting to see what happens moving forward, because obviously budgets potentially could get cut in the future, and you know, the argument could be, which has been in the past, that World Superbikes is where, you know, you win on Sunday, you sell on Monday. So, you know, maybe this is the start of, you know, a real strong period for World Superbikes. I hope so.
Yeah, we hope so, don't we? And you'll hope so, Neil. Obviously, being a world champion, well, you know, it's normal. But I always have thought there's room for everyone, and you know, in terms of prototype racing and production racing. You know, to have two healthy championships is good for motorcycling. And the worry always is when there's something like coronavirus, where economies all go to pot, isn't there? That things do look back, and we don't want that to happen, especially when we got to the situation we're in, where the fact that HRC have come back in, for me, was saying a lot about the championship.
Yeah. Now, the biggest thing for me that I like, and because I like the development side of things, you know, this new Fireblade that they brought out, for instance, is all for MotoGP. You know, the wings, the electronics, the chassis design, and they've produced a road bike. I did the Blade launch in Doha and got within 2 seconds of a World Superbike lap time on a bog standard bike with lights on. And we're now developing that as a race bike, and straight out the blocks, it's one of the fastest bikes out there. That stepping stone down to the consumer and what they can buy on the road is working. You know, they're not getting a Formula One car that you can't buy on the road. It's the development and the electronics and everything else is coming down. And it's also, so for me, it used to be 3-4 years that it'd take to see that development to come onto a road bike, in tires, in bike development, or whatever it is. It's happening instantly now. You know, they're having to homologate road bikes so race bikes can progress, and that development is happening so fast. And for me, that's quite exciting from a road point of view.
I wonder, in terms of the racing this weekend, Leon, with the fatigue, I'm not saying there'll be, but, you know, with there being 3 races over the weekend, what's it going to be like at the end of that second race on Sunday? How are you going to be feeling then? Because it's going to be a killer, having seen what, you know, the temperatures are now and what you're expecting. I
can't wait. I'm hoping that all of them's going to struggle and pull in, and then we can just win. It'll be all good.
big stand-up wheelie coming out the last corner.
Exactly.
Feeling fine. I'm feeling fine.
But you're not worried about it, like you say, because you know what the work. I think, to be honest, now racing has changed over the years, and I'm trying to think of a rider that might struggle, but they're all athletes. They're all, you know, they all take it so serious. I mean, this is what you prepare for. Don't get me wrong, there might be a surprise, someone struggles a bit more than you expect, but in general, they should.
Hey,
in theory,
when we were commentating on Jerez, we were being sent information from the paddock, weren't we? Like bits. We were talking to a lot of people. We're not there. It's really frustrating. But people were saying, "Oh, Jack, you know, Jack won't last the end of the race. So, you know, he hasn't been necessarily doing the same." He didn't do too bad, did he? The first one, you know, when he's up there on the podium, effectively, he's only losing out on the last lap, and that's someone that people are saying, you know, is going to struggle, and actually was pretty much on the podium. So everyone, you have to, don't you? To be competitive, you have to be.
What's exciting about that is that you can see people that's probably struggled with fatigue or struggling to adapt the style to tyres going off or whatever. But always in the last 3 or 4 laps, you see them try again. And then that's, for me, is what's always exciting, because, you know, they're struggling, whatever it may be, if it's physically, if it's with a tyre or with a setup. But if they're in a battle with 3 laps to go, they have a proper go again. And we saw it with Vinales, we saw it with Jack, you know, and it kind of goes a little bit calm mid-race because everyone's obviously trying to get through the next 10 laps. And all of a sudden, everyone goes again. And that's quite exciting.
Yeah, one of the things also like can happen, I remember in 2006, when I was racing in America, it was really hot at Laguna Seca. And Ben Bostrom, he was like the fittest rider. He was like a machine, you know. Like,
were we there at the same time? Was that when the Grand Prix was?
Yeah.
The track was breaking up. The track was breaking up.
Exactly, the track was, So it was about 100, it was 114 degrees. And
Fahrenheit, obviously.
Fahrenheit. And the funniest thing was Ben Bostrom, like the last 5 laps, he just was gone. But it was only because he was obviously probably the fittest rider I knew at the time. But if you don't prepare yourself, as in if you've not had enough water, you are done. You know, it's like if you're not putting fuel in your bike, you will run out of fuel. So you have to get that side of it, so the balance right, haven't you?
Yeah, 100%.
That's what he's doing now in the bar.
Yeah. Right, listen, Leon. I'm going to ask you, Leon. I'll ask you a few. My quick fire questions, and then we'll let you go, because I'm worried that the lads are sat behind you and they'll all be drunk by now, especially Rocky. Right, quick fire questions. Now, look, this is maybe different for you. Normally, I ask the riders when they were a kid, what poster did you have on your bedroom wall, which rider? But I guess you'd have had pictures of your dad, or would you not? Tell me.
Back in the day, actually, was Max Biaggi on a Rothmans 250. That's how far back it was.
Brilliant.
It was on a Rothmans 250. Luca Cadalora, Wayne Rainey, Kevin Swans.
I love it. I love it.
Not your dad?
Yeah, you know what? Everyone always said that, but for me, it was just my dad. He wasn't even. I never saw him as a big biking hero. It was just my dad that I went around with. Yeah. It was
a
kind
fair
of
point. Obviously, we've talked about golf, but I'm really interested because I'm so bored of talking to Alex Lowe's, Sam Lowe's. Both of them individually tell me that they're better than the other two. I want to know, out of you three, who's the best golfer? Once and for all, no bullshit.
You know what? I can honestly say for the last, I would say 3 years, Alex has probably won more games over me and Sam. But the last 3 months, I think I've come out on top just a little bit. So it's one of them. When they first started golfing, I had them easy, and then they overtook me, and it absolutely wound me up. So over lockdown, I've been secretly practicing, and we've got it back a little bit.
You're brilliant. Is he just been switched off there? His screen's gone. I was worried that you called your phone.
I thought that was dropping the mic. Yeah.
Hey, you're only as good as your last result. You're only as good as your last result.
How often do you play golf? How many times a week?
You know, when we come out of lockdown, I think we did like 4 games in 1 week. But normally, if we can get out once a week, you know, that's kind of what we try and do. So it's nice to play just before a race weekend because it does absolutely get you away and give you that nice mindset.
Takes your mind off it. Obviously, Leon, I've been out with you. We've had some beers. What I like about you, you know, you've got the balance in life, right? I think where you're proper serious when you have to be, but you do like a beer during winter time. So tell everybody, what's your favourite drink? We're going out. We're going into a nice country pub. Me, you, and Gav. What are you drinking?
I used to drink a lot of vodka cranberry, and I had an intolerance test saying I'm allergic to cranberry. So I'm assuming that's why I had all those angos over all those years. So we've changed it now. We've moved on to the gin and tonic.
Gin and tonic?
Yeah, that's my new one.
Over the years, you've had lots of teammates because you've been riding forever. Who's been your best and worst teammate?
Best as in probably the most ability, natural ability and results that he got was obviously Johnny last year.
No,
Soundest.
Who's like, you know, bloody hell, what a teammate we had. We laughed and he was great and he was a complete date. Did my head in. Give us
the best and the most fun for getting the racing was Troy Corser.
Obviously.
Of course.
No doubt. And probably the worst, which it shouldn't have been because we was actually close friends before that we was teammates, was probably Melandri. Just we clashed really bad that year with BMW and it ended what was a friendship. But I think it's quite a common theme, that one as well.
You clashed? Is that your polite way of talking about Donington Park?
Yeah, basically.
Oh my God. If you've not seen that, what year was that, Leon?
2012.
2012, Google it, race 1, Donington Park, World Superbikes. Leon's about to... it was for the win, was it? Or was it third?
I had a 10-metre lead going into the last corner on the last lap.
My God, it was the most horrendous takeout. It was going to be BMW's first win. And Melandri just said, not today, mate. You're not winning this race. And he might as well have jumped off the bike and ghosted it into you, really. But that's stupid.
Yeah, it was a tough year, that was.
When you said best and worst, then you went, the best for the fun we had was Troy Corser, and the worst was Troy Corser for the fun we had.
Yeah, probably. I can't remember much of that year.
I think he's still having a good time. Every time I see him, he's definitely having a good time. That's it, Leon.
Awesome.
Short and sweet.
Oh,
that's good. You've passed the test. You've definitely passed the test.
Oh, it's good to chat to you, and wish you all the best for the rest of the year after a slight break since race 1, weekend 1, shall we say? But thanks for catching up with us. Cheers for fitting us in around your golf. We know what it means to you.
No worries, guys. Thank you.
Have a great weekend, Lenny.
Yeah, have a good time. Cheers. See ya. Superb. I mean, I'd love to say right now that, you know, they're going to have a rubbish evening now, but I bet they'll have a nice evening, chewing the fat over a game of golf. And
it's just chilled, Gav. He is, isn't he, though? He's got that. I said it about that balance, and that's what I never had in my career, and I can see it in other riders. There's two types of riders. There's either the intense one, or there's the one that's just a bit relaxed.
That can switch off.
Can switch off. Leon so switches off. He's happy-go-lucky. Think about this, and you've known Leon a long time. Can you think of any riders slagging Leon off?
No.
It's one of those rare riders that everybody likes. Everyone likes him in BSB. Everyone likes him at World Championship level. All-round good guy. Just like his shock horror, like his mum and dad. If you know,
who are lovely as anything, you know.
Just the ultimate salt and earth, down to earth, lovely people, you know. And that's Leon, isn't it? And he will be winning British Superbike Championships or trying to win them in his 40s, which I'm going to enjoy watching.
I think everyone will, won't they?
Yeah.
And there's no doubting. For me, I don't know. I always feel at Grand Prix level, he never got the right shot. And I know, you know, because I remember then he got put on a 250 and it was never going to do anything. I think it was, you know, Paget's or whatever. And it wasn't, you know, we weren't talking. That time you couldn't have a kit bike. You needed to have a factory to be able to do anything. And it was, I felt that was him gone out of Grand Prix, which happened to a lot of people over the years. But then I'm sort of like, well, he's just a kid doing that. Wait a second. And then, you know, rebuilt himself, didn't he? A
few times.
Exactly.
You know what I mean, though? A few times.
He's reinvented himself.
Yeah. It's resilient,
on a number of occasions, yeah.
Just keeps on coming back. And, you know, if he can click with that Honda, would you say that it's impossible for him to win a race this year?
No.
Not at all. You know what I mean? Of course he could. You know what I mean? He has got the ability to do that. Of course he has. Just let's hope he can click with that Honda. I think we all hope that Honda's good, just for World Superbikes in general. You know, we want them to be competitive, don't we?
Look, the way you talked about it there, look, the Ducati we saw last year, basically got a Grand Prix bike. It's a case of you build your prototype Grand Prix bike, and we've also got this production bike. Yeah, obviously we've learned a few things, but we built a production bike. And what Ducati did was, how can we make this Grand Prix bike work on the road? Basically what they did, didn't they?
Yeah.
And so Honda have sort of done something along those lines, really, haven't they? They've sort of gone, well, this is what we do with a V4. This is what we do in MotoGP. How can we just make it so it can be ridden on the road? And that's where you've got this bike. So you've got to feel with what Honda can do. I know they haven't made the greatest MotoGP bike in recent years, but Honda can build a motorcycle, can't they?
Yeah. And what happened is Ducati did raise the bar. Ducati, in my opinion, still have the best bike in World Superbikes. Kawasaki, however, have the best rider at the moment.
I agree with you in that, but I also feel that what Ducati have done last year is they're learning things still, aren't they, about how this whole package works together, you know, in terms of it being the new bike and Pirellis and you know the rules and getting inside of everything and you know RPM limits, those sorts of things. Whereas Kawasaki have just built on what they've had and kept going and building. So you know where they do have the best rider who's been successful, I also think they've got all the data and information and building on top of things every single year. Is that make sense?
You're right. What I've learned obviously through Alex Lowe's is this is definitely something. I'm not saying that the Kawasaki is bad. Obviously, I'm not. But what I'm seeing and hearing is Kawasaki have the best rider in Jonathan Rea at the moment, right? But also they've got the best team. It's got an incredible team. I don't necessarily think that Kawasaki is
streets ahead.
The difference.
No, at all. I agree. But what I mean is everyone's got sort of strengths, haven't they?
Yeah.
You know.
But where we're going with this is that's why we need the Honda to be good.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're up against. So they're up against the Ducati, which is the best bike, and they're up against the best riders and team in the Kawasaki lot. Yeah, Yamaha's bike works. Is the best bike at like a couple of tracks, but unfortunately the Kawasaki is better at, you know, that package is better at 8 of them. You know what I mean? And that's why we're potentially going to have good racing. And the BMW's right there as well, isn't it? You know, it is. So, yeah, I'm so excited. I mean, the opening round at Phillip Island was stunning. And then, but that can sometimes give you a false sense of security.
Phillip Island's very unique, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a unique proposition. When we go there for Grand Prix, you always get amazing races. But also in World Superbike, the start of the year, it always, I don't know, something's always different there. And how many times over the years have things happen at Phillip Island and it's not painted the right picture for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
But this is such a different year because now it's 5 months since they were racing there, you know? So
such
I
a big
think
weekend.
It's going to be fascinating.
Yeah.
It's going to be fascinating.
Such a big weekend. And genuinely, I have no idea how it's going to pan out. It's not one of them where
that's
you go,
it. That's what I was trying to get out of Leon. Yeah. How do you see it panning out? And obviously he's going to say, well, I think we're going to do well. But I wouldn't be surprised for him or Alvaro as well.
Yeah.
Either of them at a track, you know, I don't know, where things are going to be so hard with 60-degree track temperatures.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there will be some surprises. So
yeah,
we just don't know what they're going to be.
Right. Well, let's leave it on that note and let's see.
Gavin, it's nearly my bedtime. It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
20 to 9.
Yeah,
I'm only in bed between 9 and half past.
I can see your eyes are going, so we better say goodbye. Right, thank you everybody once again for watching, for listening. Please, as always, we do ask you, just send us a comment, send us any questions that you've got to @NeilHodgson100 on Twitter. Gavin Emmett is mine. I wasn't going to give mine then. I was just going to fire it all towards him. But yeah, send us. We do love your correspondence. We do appreciate it. We've had some lovely comments, and and I know you're all going to be going out buying these shirts. So
yeah, I'm loving it.
Barbecue this week. It's going to be barbecue time at World Superbikes. Can't wait.
It certainly is.
Right. Cheers, Neil. See you soon.
Gav. I love you, man.
Bye. See ya.
Ciao, ciao.